Dan writes in, John Cena has been champion 15 times now in his career. Out of all of his title reigns, do you remember which one actually was memorable and felt special? I just finished watching Eddie Guerrero win the title against Brock Lesnar in No Way Out, and that one title win felt like it had more feeling and passion behind it than all of Cena's title reigns combined. I just can't remember the last time Cena won the belt and made it feel special and brought passion to it. When is the last time you remember Cena winning the belt and actually bringing the passion that we saw during Eddie's days as champion? He never did. Few people could bring that kind of passion to winning the title like Eddie did. You know, not just Cena. I think the moment for Eddie, the story behind it, nobody ever saw him as being a champion. Nobody ever saw him as being on that level. He had a lot of demons that he battled through to come back. You know, Cena never had any demons. Cena's just, Cena's a straight-laced guy. Cena's boring. That's the whole point of John Cena. Eddie Guerrero had all these demons and these problems and, arrests, and he was down just in the ditches, the lowest of lows, and he worked his way back up, and it was this great story. I think for John Cena, there never was a story. The only story with Cena was they had some footage of him dressed up as Hulk Hogan as a kid, and he talked about how he used to be a fan. Meanwhile, from what I understand, it wasn't like he was a fan from being a kid and he never stopped. I think he got out of wrestling. I know he became a big fan of bodybuilding, and then he ended up falling back into wrestling. So they never usually tell that part of the story, but that was always my impression. But he grew up a fan and he became a star. That's it. Cena's very boring and very vanilla in a lot of ways, and Eddie, you can't say that Eddie was vanilla. Certainly he had his ups and downs, and it was an interesting career path that he took, and it meant so much when he won that championship, and he won it in his hometown, and his family was there, and people went nuts. It was great. It was just a great feel-good moment, whereas now John Cena wins the title, and they try to make it sound like Boston is his hometown. He grew up in West Newbury. I'm not sure how far West Newbury is from Boston, but every time they go to Boston, he's in his hometown. He's in his hometown. He's in his home state. He's not in his hometown. But they say he is, and it just makes them look so bad because he gets booed. He gets booed more than he gets cheered in his supposed hometown. It's not the same thing. And when I look back at all of Cena's title wins from that first one against JBL until the most recent one at Money in the Bank, he never had that same level of passion. It never came through the way that it did when Eddie won the belt. CM Punk. CM Punk had that, I think, at Madison Square Garden when he beat Del Rio for the WWE title at Survivor Series. That wasn't his first reign. It was the start of the 434-day run that he had. But from having Howard Finkel announce him to the ring to winning the title in Madison Square Garden, diving into the front row in that sea of fans, I just remember Punk had this big smile on his face. Like, you couldn't slap that smile off his face. He was so happy to have had that moment. It probably meant more to him, I'm guessing, than winning the title from Cena in Chicago at Money in the Bank did. Just knowing the history of that building in New York and having the Fink announce him as the new champion, and as a fan, knowing all of the guy's struggles coming up from the indies, the backstage politics holding him down. Paul Heyman has told the story before. They wanted Heyman to fire Punk when Heyman was in charge of Ohio Valley. The directive came down from the top, get rid of him. And he fought for him. He said, I'm not going to do it. You want to fire him, you do it yourself. I think you're making a big mistake. And he fought for the guy, and he saved his career. That's why he's a Paul Heyman guy. That's not just a storyline. That's reality. So there's a lot of interesting twists and turns to the CM Punk story, just like there was a lot of interesting twists and turns and highs and lows with the Eddie Guerrero story. So, I give Punk as an example of somebody who I think had that same kind of passion with that title win, so I remember that one. Plus, I was in the building that night, so maybe I'm a little biased. Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan winning the title the first time at SummerSlam when he beat John Cena before the cash-in. That was another. I remember watching this guy killing himself in a match in a hotel ballroom in front of 700 people because I was there. I saw it. And like Eddie, being told you're too small to be WWE champion. John Cena never got told you're too small. John Cena was... They called him the frickin' prototype. That was his name in developmental. That's what he was. He was the prototype. He was the exact prototype for what they looked for. Cena did have, there was one interesting, I guess, twist in the Cena story in that he was this close from getting cut. And what saved him was being the Vanilla Ice, dressing up as Vanilla Ice on that one Halloween episode of SmackDown. And I guess Stephanie McMahon saw him and he was like battle rapping and she was very impressed. And that's when they made the decision to run with him as this thug rapper character, the Doctor of Thugonomics. So that was his big break. He also, it sounds like, came very close to being cut. I'm not sure why you would cut a guy who looked like John Cena, but even John Cena came very close to being cut and got saved by that one little thing. But I mean, aside from that, there really isn't much. It's a very hollow story, I think, that he has. It's a very basic, vanilla kind of story when you compare it to an Eddie Guerrero, a Daniel Bryan, a CM Punk, or any of those kind of guys. Here's one way I would describe it. Eddie won the title, and it felt like a wrestler won it. Cena won the title, and it felt like a guy playing the role of wrestler had won it. That's the best way I can describe it. And since then, look, it's been how many years? Cena's proven himself to be a wrestler. Not just the guy playing a wrestler. He's worked his ass off at it. Say what you want to about his wrestling skills. But that's how it felt at that time. And the 14 times since then that he won the belt, none of those wins have come close to matching the emotion of Eddie winning the belt from Brock. I can't even remember half of the title wins that he had. He's had so many of them.